What's that?
How's Walter?
Good. He's making a lot of noise. A lot of noise right now. He's got to be at my feet, which I'm at the hardwood, and he's got a bone, so it's very loud.
Okay.
But yeah, he's good otherwise.
All right.
So, I mean, really, I think what my whole debate right now is just like his next steps in training.
Yeah.
So, because we were doing like other stuff too before everything shut down, like outside of you guys, and obviously that's done. And so I just need him to be doing something, and I want him to be doing something. So I'm just trying to figure out what to do next, really. And my end goal is to be able to like trust him off leash in something like a park situation and trust that he'll come. I am looking forward to bringing him to like beaches, parks, like water type things too, because I think he'll really like that. But I just don't trust that he'll come back if he's too excited about something else.
Correct.
So it's not that I don't think he'll do something like bad away from me, but I just want him to actually come back to me.
Correct.
So.
Anything else? Because it really just seems like the next level of obedience, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to training and just kind of like FYI and stuff, which is why, you had him in the puppy head start, which is great in the beginning. Mechanical skills, sit down, stay calm, and all that. Is that realistically speaking, not applicable if you're, like you said, at the dog beach and he's playing with his dog friends, and then, I don't know, maybe a dog fight sparks and like you want to pull him away from that. If you're at the park and he sees a squirrel or a rabbit and he wants to chase it,
Right.
bring him off of that. Food, of course, has a very low ceiling that even if you have chicken or steak, he's like, I can always have that later, but I don't always get to chase squirrels.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
he doesn't always come to food.
Yeah.
So
and you're more sensible. Typically when I talk to people, I don't know if it's just like a hope or like faith that like maybe one day the dog, it'll just click and the dog will just always come back. And I'm like, no, like, like there's more to this than just the simple stuff. So I saw you kind of upgraded them to the prong collar, which is good. It's perfect to use. It gives you more control in terms of if he's pulling and walking, things like that.
Right. Yeah, because I saw that you guys were using like the slip leads, and I was like, well, if he's walking really well with that, I think the prong collar is the general same sensation for him. And so I just started using it because I had it for my last dog.
Yeah, so the prong collar, a lot of trainers call it like power steering for a dog. Because especially if it's worn correctly and applied correctly, you get so much more control with very little effort.
Yeah.
And it's a step above the slip leash, because slip leash takes a little bit more technical skill because there's no like the biting pressure. It's the same. We apply it the same as a prong collar, but without that additional kind of biting pressure. Yeah. It takes a little bit more technical skill. So like ever since we saw that you had him on, I was like, oh, you guys can pop, one on Walter, and he'll walk even better now in the pack walks.
Good. Yeah.
So the e-collar is like the ultimate step. Right. And at 6 months, and even sometimes at 5 months, and I can actually train a puppy as young as 2 months on e-collar. It's just for the human, they're typically not accepting of it until 6 months.
Got it.
And I think it's because by that point the puppy's just like driven them nuts for 4 months,
Yeah. They're like, okay, it's fine.
Exactly, like they're ready, or they've learned the realistic expectations of other methods like food only or prong collar. Prong collar is great, but again, once you remove that leash, like if he decides to do something else, you have no means of stopping or getting him back. So e-collar allows you to do that very thing. And it's come a long way since, like even in the past 10 years, dog training has evolved a lot. And The models that we use, the dog that I recommended to you, goes up to 127. Cheaper models will go up to like 10. And the difference is 10 and 127 are the same, but you have 117 more individual breaks.
Got it.
Yeah, so people typically think it's 117 more levels,
Right.
like higher. I'm like, no. I'm like, they're the same, right? So you can really fine tune it to him. And what we do is we layer it over everything that he knows: the sit, the down, the recall, the come, stay, place, and heel. So I teach, even if the dog comes to me with previous training, I kind of start from scratch, but we progress faster.
Yeah.
Okay, because the dog already has like a baseline. And the reason why we do this is we use a concept of that's called pressure work. Are you familiar with that?
No.
So have you ever pulled up and pushed down on Walter's butt to make him sit?
No, I don't think so.
Have you ever seen it? Like they'll pull up on the collar and they'll push down on the butt and the dog will sit like this?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's physical pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you could use that with a prong collar, a flat collar, whatever. But when you make that motion, the dogs will give into the pressure and they go into a sitting position.
Right.
So once they do that, you stop because you got what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very similar with e-collar. E-collar is just another form of pressure. So most people think if the dog knows sit, you tell them sit, and when they don't do it, you either yank them with the prong collar or you zap them with the e-collar. And I'll tell them, no, that's the old school way of thinking. And that's more along the lines of what we call punishment-based training, okay? And there's a time and place for punishment, but when it comes to obedience, they're too far apart. So it's like you sit, you get a treat. If you don't sit, you get this punishment. And the dog doesn't like bridge those two things together. So what we do is, have you ever been to a chiropractor or a physical therapist?
I haven't, no.
You haven't? Have you ever heard of STIM or TENS therapy?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go to like Walgreens and you look in the back section, you'll find a machine called a TENS unit, TENS, and it looks like a little bone, and you put it on your back, and it moves your back muscles.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a slight current. So it's electric, but not electricity, but it moves the muscles to help ease back pain or to help ease a really tight back, okay? So e-collar is the same device. It's not electrocution, it's a TENS unit. And when you go to a chiropractor and they apply it to you, they'll tell you, tell us what's too much. And they'll start low and they'll work their way up. Mm-hmm. And then you'll say, right there, right, that's too much. And maybe if they're at 10 and they'll go down to 8 and they'll say, how's that? And you say, that's fine. And they let it do its work, right? It's pretty much the same for dogs. We start low, we work our way up. And what I find is a number that's low enough that, we don't want yelping or rolling on the ground or anything like that, but high enough that the dog is concerned about it and it motivates them to want to turn it off. Right. Okay. So we have what we call connection level, which is just the twitch. And you'll see dogs, like they'll be staring at something and you'll see the muscle twitching, but they're not fazed by it.
Yeah.
So you have connection, but you don't have this. Okay. Then we get perception level, which is they feel it and they kind of just very subtly like look around. And then we have what I call working level. Okay. And that's the number that gets me a little more response from the dog because it's concerning. And they go like, oh, like, and you'll see like bigger movements. And that tells me that the number I have, the dog wants to turn off. Yeah. Okay. So then I start to layer that over everything. So like, let's say I would pull up and then press down and I would start remoting. And then Walter would kind of look around and finally put his butt down and everything would stop. And he goes, oh, I didn't like that, but it went away when I did this, right? And then he gets up and I repeat it. And he's like, oh, sits back down. He's like, that's weird. I felt this when I put my butt down, it went away. But when I got up, it came back. But when I put my butt down, it went away, right? So then he starts to understand that concept of what we call pressure. And pressure, in my opinion, is the best teaching tool, or negative pressure, because everybody wants to turn off negative things. right? So now we have negative, how would say, so positive reinforcement is a motivator, right? You'll get something if you do it, but so is negative, right? If you don't do it, this might pop in, or this will pop in, and the dog goes, well, I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to perform the command, right?
Yeah.
So instead of, most people, they'll repeat things, and then they'll keep repeating, and then finally when they're fed up, they'll apply the remote. And then I'm telling them, like, you're teaching your dog to ignore you like 5 times before the consequence kicks in, and you're causing more harm than good. What I do is, anytime I say something, remote always kicks in unless the dog moves fast enough and they beat the punch. So if I say sit and he goes like that, you beat the button.
Reaction time for you.
Correct. So the reason why that's important is if we apply it to recall, let's say you're at the park, he's off leash, you've already done all your homework, and he decides he wants a rabbit, just books it, and he wants to chase that rabbit. If there's any delay between the command and the reaction, you're giving him space to continue chasing that rabbit, that then the command goes out of mind, right? Yeah. But if I layer it in and he thinks come and he turns on a dime and he books it and I give that cue, there's no time for the brain to think otherwise. It's just response, okay? And that's what I really stress to people, because I understand people love their dogs. I love dogs as well. And they're like, it's like this notion of, I'm going to give my dog a command and I hope they do the right thing, as opposed to, I'm going to give the command, and if the dog doesn't, I'm going to make them do the correct thing.
Right. You have no choice.
Yes. Exactly, because I've heard a lot of stories in my career. Dogs getting hit by cars. I had a dog just recently confront a wolf in Lincoln Park. I had a dog get picked up by a hawk. I had a dog that jumped the fence and didn't clear the fence and got impaled.
Oh no.
Yeah, crazy stuff, right? And it's like, maybe it's the one in the million thing.
In a lot of ways, but still scary.
Correct. I tell people, train for the day that you hope never comes. And if it does, like, I'm not worried. It's like last night I took my dogs out to potty, and I thought about taking them out off leash, just in the front. And I was like, I'm gonna pop a leash on them. And then 2 minutes outside, somebody blew up like 10 fireworks. I don't know if you heard, because you're around the area, right?
Yeah, I just live on Diversity, right at the corner of Campbell and Diversity.
Yeah, somebody just blew up like 10 fireworks, on 9 to 10. And my pit hates fireworks.
Oh yeah, mine didn't like either. Yeah,
so I was like, and I remember just being annoyed, but and also thinking, like, this is why I tell people, like, if you go out and you're caught in that context and your dog books it in fear, at least you have the means of making them return because of the tool that you have. Because it's not about obedience, it's about behavior. He's scared, he's running for his life, he doesn't know what that is. So I've had people in a very similar context tell me, like, hey Jesse, I was at the park and the firework blew off and I had to max it out and hit continuous, and my dog shrieked, but then hit the ground and 180 right back to me. I'm like, it sucks that you have to do that, and it sucks that your dog went through that, but you didn't lose your dog ultimately. Does that all make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, I had an e-collar with my last dog. I didn't really train him with it. We didn't go to see anyone, or there was no formal training about it. So I never really knew how to use it, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's easy to use.
Right.
It's very simple to use when you have the right tool or the right methodology. And now, because of COVID, we've been doing like all verbal instruction.
Right, which is, I think, awesome at the same time, as much as it's like a little backwards, but at least
for sure.
The dog is like used to listening to one person.
Correct. A lot of my clients, the ones that we have now that signed up afterwards, they were like all hesitant because they're like, can you really train my dog without touching them? I'm like, yeah, because the tool is easy to use. It's we're so button oriented now, you know, so it's button as opposed to like leash and prong and like relaxing and technical skill and things like that. I've broken down the exercises to be very simple chunks that the owner is able to understand it, and like just gradually advance them until they get to the point where they need to be. And it's related to them. It's not related to us.
Right.
You know, that's why I like board and trains, because it's easy work and stuff like that. But I'll always tell people, if you can do it yourself, do it yourself, because you learn more and everything's tied to you. It's not tied to us, and then we send it to, you know, we transfer it to you.
Yeah,
so
might not always make sense to the dog in a different environment, I think. So
correct. And we've been working at I think I told you, at Oz Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You did say. I haven't been there, but
it's big, a lot of space, lots of distractions.
I know what you're saying, everything with the e-collar, but then what's the difference in what you do with, because I tried to look online, but then I get so confused. I don't know why I do, but reading it is different than talking about it for me. So the off-leash training, what specifically does that do?
Okay.
Is that e-collar or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So anytime anybody asks me for off-leash training, like
it's always with the e-collar. Okay. I just didn't know if that required the same like equipment and everything.
Right. So I really push e-collar. Very rarely do I use prong. Since this year, 2020, I've only had one client start with prong because it was a puppy. And then just as, I saw them was like Tuesday on Sunday, and they're yanking the dog all over the place. And he's just not listening. And I was like, look, they're in their 60s, 70s. And I was like, look, you can give your dog your hardest correction. It's not phasing him. Go to e-collar, right? And then at the end of they were sold. At the end of the class, they're like, yeah, let's just do e-collar.
Right. Yeah, I haven't used the prong collar for walking with my last dog, and that's all I use it for him. I've never like trained any type of skill with it. It's just the walk, but I know even just the difference with my last dog, he was a lab pit, and then with Walter, like the littlest of pull, it seems like to me, and Walter just like shapes up. My last dog, it was like pressure the whole time, and he just didn't care. He was like, we gotta go, I'm walking. So it's like, it's just the difference of personality is the only reason that I think I'm using it with Walter, because it's working.
Absolutely. And that's really what it comes down to, because people ask a lot, like, well, how come it worked for my other 9 dogs, but not this one? I'm like, because this is not your other 9 dogs. Yeah. This is a different personality type. You know, they go by the breed.
All these different, like I said, tools and tricks, and I tried everything with the last dog. I have the gentle leader, I have everything. But so that's why I used the prong collar on him. I was like, I think it'll work, and it does. So.
Yeah, no, he does great with it. And it's, you know, dogs bite each other is what I tell people. You know, like that's how they correct. They bite each other.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, because people they're so sold on the I can get these things done with positive and food and happiness. You know, I'm like, nope.
Right.
Like not the real world. Yeah, you know. So e-collar makes things a lot more gentler, less confrontational. You get up to off-leash control. And the differences would be, it really just depends on your lifestyle with Walter, right? So like I get clients that they just want their dog to not pull on the leash, and they go to the dog park, and that's pretty much it. They walk their dog and they go to the dog park. And I'm like, all right, so you just need leash walking and recall. Here you go, 6 classes. I get others that do that, and then they go to restaurant patios, and they want the dog to like not move for a period of time. And I'm like, okay, that's 9 weeks. And then I get people that do everything. You know, and they go hiking, you know, they want the dog off leash, and then like, you know, running around and stuff like that. And there's deer, like maybe at a cabin on the lake, and there's deers and raccoons and squirrels and, you know, chipmunks and stuff, right? Then you need full control. Yeah. Right. So the full off leash is everything off leash reliable. Heel, recall, sit, down, stay, go into the bed. 9 week is recall, off leash reliable, but the other stuff like on leash And then 6 weeks is off-leash recall, on-leash heal. And then typically we cover other stuff, but that's like kind of the general spectrum of what can be expected.
Yeah. I mean, living in the city, we won't be here forever, but doing all these things, like we already have taken him to like a restaurant, whatever type of situation, I think twice. And like that is important, I think, to me, his ability to like control himself in those situations as well. But we aren't doing anything as extreme of what you're talking about as far as like truly being outdoors and everything. More control than that. But yeah. Somewhere in the middle.
So a very common question that I get is, when does the e-collar go away? And in my book, I tell everybody, when you need it, you have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're gonna, go out walking with him and you let him off leash at, a nearby park or something, you'd want to have it on.
Mm-hmm.
If he's a great dog inside the home, you don't need it. If he's great when people come over, you don't need it. If you go to a friend's house and he's great there and you're just gonna go from your house to the car to their house, if you want it, you got it. If you don't want it, you don't use it.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason is dogs are opportunistic animals. I mean, so are humans.
Mm-hmm.
So like the most common example I give is driving on the expressway. Have you been on the expressway?
Yeah.
Do you go the speed limit?
No.
Okay. If you see a cop, do you slow down?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's like, I tell that to everybody. And it's funny because even though I explain it that way and it resonates with everybody, at some point during the training, they'll always ask, when can I get rid of the e-collar?
Yeah. I remember with being told on the prong collar with my last dog, like people like just walking was, like I said, the purpose that I was introduced to it. But they were like, well, when can we stop using it? They would always tell me that people would ask. And they're like, you don't need to. Like, if it works for him and he's doing it, then why would you change it?
Correct. It's every kid, every dog is different. Every human is different.
Mm-hmm.
And even when I get good dogs, friendly dogs, very sociable dogs, I still e-collar. Right? They're not bad in the traditional sense, which is typically for people they consider aggression or aggressive dogs bad, right? But I was like, no, like I have a client that just wrapped up the program a few weeks ago. The dog's super friendly, super social, broke the husband's shoulder, sent him to the ER 3 times in 2 years, made his mom chase him for an hour that she broke down crying, because he wouldn't come back.
Yeah.
And he was a good dog in the sense that he was friendly, and then after they did the training and everything, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm like, yeah, even the good dogs need it because even they can run away, even they can cause harm just in a different fashion, and we adapt everything to the dog's personality type. Right. So like, let's say for Walter, maybe he's very receptive to the prong, but he might be a little bit more resilient to the e-collar. Okay. So I mentioned before, it goes 0 to 127.
Yeah.
And I don't think that just because he's sensitive to the prong that it would mean he's very low level on the e-collar. It's very different. Like some dogs can be tough with the prong, but sensitive to the e-collar, or they can be sensitive to the prong, but tough to the e-collar. And it's nothing good or bad. It's just you may be higher than you're thinking because he's a little pup, he's still growing and things like that, or his personality type. People tend to go by like, oh, the dog's super easygoing, they'll be easy to train, and then like they're a jerk.
Yeah. He does not like rules, so he gives me a run for my money all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Anytime there's a rule, he usually is yelling back at me. So very mouthy.
Oh, yeah, he's very protesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little protesty in the beginning with with the breast time and the crate stuff, but he's great now. Every now and then he might give a little like whine.
Yeah. I think that the puppy head start really helped with his crate training because he was so bad every single time we went in there. He went in there, he just cried. And I felt like once he started going a little more to you guys, and he saw that like it was happening there too at night, he was like, all right, this is just life.
Yeah. And that's really the purpose of the Head Start. It was potty and crate training, and then we threw in the 30-minute training sessions, just for puppy development. But when you had asked about it, I was like, just save your money. If you know you want to do more, just save it and apply it to something that's going to matter.
Yeah, which was nice. He doesn't potty and all that, like those foundational things he picked up on pretty quick.
Good.
So, but
any other questions or concerns?
not really. I think that pretty much answers it.
Okay. In terms of length of time, it just comes down to, just how much control you're wanting. If you're along the lines of, walking him, we go to the dog park occasionally, to the park, off leash, the beach, things like that, and in restaurant patios, then you're in that 9-week.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And then I know you said they're at Park, is it once a week? What is your?
Correct. It's once a week. And the class is an hour.
Okay.
And it's, all verbal instruction. So I'd send you a couple of videos so that you would watch, so you know how it works, how to apply it, and what we're looking for in terms of getting that connection down. So when you show up, we can just start training.
Okay.
If we're not wasting time like on those little things.
Sizing it and
all that stuff. So we can start learning right away. We do start off with the leash walking first. We always teach baseline heel, because for e-collar, a dog's first instinct is typically to run away because it's so foreign. Right. And we use the leash walking to teach them not to run away, but to instead come to your side. And then each class just builds off the previous class. So the first 2 is typically recall. The next 2, the next one, the third one is sometimes stay. Sometimes I'll just jump straight into recall, because recall takes people the longest to learn. Because it requires you to go somewhere where there's space and practice, and ideally, you want distractions like squirrels or other dogs and things like that.
Because that's my thing with him, even like come and all that. Like if I tell him to like sit and stay and then call him, like he comes every time. Sure. But it's like when he's walking around even the house, or if he's in the backyard and I tell him to come, it definitely takes longer.
Correct. So I like to try to get to that point as soon as possible, so that the owner can start practicing it, because we want to get that off-leash reliable by the end of the classes. And then from there, like I'll like ask you questions about things like, do you need them to like not move for a period of time, which would be applicable to the patio setting, right? So if you set down means lay down and don't move until I release you. Right. Okay, whether it's 20 minutes to an hour to 3 hours, like down is down and don't move. Sit is momentary. Like I don't have dogs sit longer than, a couple of minutes. So if you stop and you see a friend, you have a conversation, he's sitting at your side and not like pulling you all over the place, things like that.
Okay. What? I mean, I don't have any other questions really.
Okay. So then, do you want me to have Maria reach out to you, or do you want to reach out to Maria?
As far as like scheduling and everything? Is that? Yeah.
Whenever you're ready.
No, she can reach out and kind of give some options, I guess, of like what your schedule currently looks like. Sure. And like where we could fit in, days of the week, maybe options, and then I can see what works.
Sure. And then what's your availability like? Are you open due to like the COVID thing, or? I am.
I'm currently on summer as far as my job goes. I work in a school, so
okay.
Open. I don't have anything really going on.
Yeah, because
we had planning a wedding, but that we'll see. So that's the only thing.
Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
Yeah, just because with the epidemic, things slowed down here a lot.
Right.
That I had to cut back on staff, and it was like me and my brother here like 24/7 to try to like save money.
Right.
And then as the training requests came in, that's why we went to Oz Park, because we could see more people in the day, because they would come to us. And then
easier to schedule.
Yeah, what we also did is we added two complimentary Zoom sessions to the program. So like, let's say you have just general questions. Instead of using time in person for that, you can just schedule a Zoom session and we can do all that stuff. So I really want to prioritize.
Yeah, when you're there, just like working.
Correct. So we did that as well. And it's a great environment, dogs, people,
Mhm.
strollers, kids, bikes,
Right.
you know, lots of stuff going on.
We go over to Hamlin, and it's like the same thing, I think.
Gotcha.
So
I'll actually look into Hamlin in case we get more people in the area.
yeah, it's like a 4 baseball diamonds. There's tennis courts. There's an actual dog park, and then there's just like a path around. So,
Okay.
but it's really just like the baseball diamonds. So if people are playing baseball, it's kind of like
Oh, I see. It's
scary.
yeah. Sure.
I don't want
No,
to get hit.
Park is tons of space. So
Yeah, this is more like just the baseball diamonds, but nothing's been going on right now. So it's just dogs out there playing fetch all the time. And Walter's
Gotcha.
like, what are they doing that I am not doing?
Sure. Okay. So I'll have her get in contact with you, and then I'll let her know that you have a little bit more open availability, so that we can find a place for you. And then whenever you're ready.
I would prefer during the week, just because the weekends usually then we do something. We're usually doing.
Oh yeah, sure.
More, but
and actually, that works because Saturday and Sunday I think are already starting to fill up, and we just started spreading into Friday now.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I'd rather during the week, and like I said, it's really whenever.
All right, sounds good. I'll let her know that then. Anything else?
No, I think we're good. I'm thankful that you were able to do this. I know I had so many questions.
Yeah, no problem.
No,
Walter's great. He has fun on the pack walks, and he does well. So.
No, I know. I like to see them. They're funny. Just such a little punk to me, and then I see him there, and I'm like, I feel like it's a different dog. But
and he's so big now too. Like when
I know.
I saw an old video when he was the same size as Bob and Jerry.
Yeah.
I was like, man, he was so little. Now he's so big, a little chunker.
I think I saved one of like the first times that you guys that he was there. Like I screenshotted or whatever, a little video, and I was like, he was so little. Yeah, compared to like Bob and Jerry, exactly. But yeah, now I mean, like I said, I don't know how big he's gonna get. We'll see. But he's 6 months. I can't imagine that much of like a doubling of size, but we'll see. Still got some time.
No, I think he's still got some room to grow from what I've seen. So
he's got some loose skin, so I'm hopeful. My last dog was 70 pounds, and I wanted a big dog, so.
Yeah, I think he'll get there. Well, if you need anything else, you let us know, okay? But Maria will get in contact with you.
Okay, sounds good. And then I sent you that collar link. You think that one would be fine still?
Yeah,
that one time we were talking?
I was on Instagram, right?
Yeah, it was I think the lesser of the two.
The 2300?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think temperament-wise, he's going to be fine on it regardless of his weight.
Yeah.
I
think so too, but if I really need it, I could always buy the other one eventually. So
yeah, that's true.
There.
Yeah, and then if you do that and you want to get rid of your old one, just tell me, and I got other clients that could buy it off of you. So
yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay.
All
Awesome.
right, thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
You too.